So, when you are completed at the end of each day, you must wrap up your box or any clay pieces very carefully. Yesterday, as I got finished, I wrapped up my piece, so I'm going to unwrap it now and get the box out. I did complete all sides on the box yesterday. My textures on two sides were done. My textures on two sides were not done, so I wrapped those extra carefully because I wanted those to remain nice and pliable. I want to be able to work with them some more. As I completed my box, I was very careful to make sure that all edges are smoothed out, and I did that simply with my fingertip by rubbing on the edges, the bottom edges, just to make it as smooth and perfect as possible. So I've got two more sides to complete for the dragon box. On one side, I'm going to add talons. And the talons were created just a little earlier, and I wrapped them up to keep them nice and soft. So these are going to be little talons, and they're going to go on like this. Anytime I put something on or add it to the box, I'm going to have to score, slip, and smear. So I'm planning to put on the talons as another texture, and I'll put 3 on top and 1 underneath, like it's a little claw sticking out. So with this, I will score each piece. I'll decide where I'm going to put them. Maybe I'll put some little lines, so I know, little dots, so I know where they'll go. I'll score this area as well. I'll add some slip. I really only have to add slip to one part. Stick the talon on there. Now that's not going to be quite enough. Then I have to very carefully go around the edge and smear it on. This is probably the most important part in making sure that it sticks well. If I can't get around there easily, I can also take a small amount of clay and again make a very, very, very tiny coil. A very, very skinny coil. This is so skinny it's almost like a string. And I can also add that around. It's another way to make sure that it really gets on there. And then I can smear that in. I have a little more clay to work with as I smear that in. And I will of course want to make it as smooth and as neat as I possibly can. And then if I want to add a little bit of texture on my talon, I can do that as well. I'm going to add 3 talons here and 1 here. On my fourth side, my fourth texture for my dragon is going to be fire. And I've decided to do this with slip. So I'm simply going to paint on some flames, and I'm going to make them stick up a bit. I might take a tool to help me, and I might begin by drawing where will my flames go. So I've got a little area to decide on. If I draw incorrectly, I can just take my finger and smooth out the line so it's not going to be a mistake. So I can decide just exactly how do I want these flames to look before I put them on here. And then I can take my slip and I can lay this on here and kind of build it up so it's going to be kind of a real bumpy texture. It's going to stick out quite a way. Now this has to be a last thing that you do because anytime I touch this slip, it's going to change its shape. It's going to flatten out. So I want to make sure I'm about done with my box as I begin to add the flames on. So I will continue doing these 2 sides and complete them. Then I will need to make the cover for the box. Now, you could have cut out a cover earlier, but as you work with the box, sometimes it changes shape, so you want to, a better idea is to do the box at the, or the cover to the box at the end. I'm taking a piece of clay out of here. I'm going to move my box back so I don't bump it. And again, I'm going to flatten this out, just like I did before. Before I begin rolling it, I use my 2 sticks as my guidelines. I roll forward little by little, and then I want to make sure I flip it so it doesn't stick. Roll forward until I know that my rolling pin is rolling right on the sticks. Now, to make the shape of my cover just right, I'm going to take my box and use that as my template. So I'm going to put that on there, and then I'm going to lightly trace around it first, just using a wooden tool or a paper clip, whatever I want to cut my clay with. You can see it's a little bit odd shape because my box is stretched slightly. That's okay. Then I'll more carefully cut it out. Take away my extra clay here. Set that aside. Maybe make the edges just a little bit smoother. Now, when I'm going to be using this cover, I don't want to just leave it as is, because if I tip the box, it'll slide right out. So another step I want to do is make a little lip on this box. So again, I will take pieces of clay, and I'm going to roll them into a coil. This coil is going to be just a little thicker than those other coils, but not too thick. So it's going to be about that thick. I want to make sure the lip is on the inside of this edge, so I have to do a little estimation. That edge is about as big as my coil, so I want to make sure I put that in at least that far. Would cut this and see how long I want it. I'm going to make a little estimation. And again, I will take this and I will score. Decide where I'm going to put it, right about there. I'm going to make a little end on each one so I know it's a little guideline. I'll score on here. I will add my slip to it. I'm going to be generous with the slip. That's our clay glue. Put the scored side down. Press it in place. And then again, I'm going to combine this onto here as smoothly and neatly as I can. I'll do that on all the sides. I will continue this all the way around.